and welcome everybody to another show of Wisdom to Wealth. I'm Whitney Hammond, your host, and I have Theresa Pellizzari with me. She is a financial security advisor with Sovereign Wealth Management. Good afternoon, Theresa. How are you doing today? Great, and thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you. It's a wonderful sunny day, so all is well.
Very nice. So on Wisdom to Wealth, what we talk about is your money. Our goal is to help you get control of your money versus your money having control over you. So today will be an interesting conversation, value advice for teens and people in their 20s, which is the Z generation or Z generation if you are American. But before I jump into that, I just wanted to give one little tip of information here. This is not to say anything good or bad about the stock market. It's just a fact that in the United States right now, maybe even North America, 50% of all trading is being done by high frequency trading. And what that is algorithms and computer trading. So anybody who's working with an advisor, they are buying investments, most likely either the broker is picking the stocks or the fund managers are picking the stocks. But there's a whole bunch of discount brokerage and direct trading firms where there's electronic trading going on. So what happens is kind of like a cascading waterfall. Like if you're going off the cliff, it's exasperated, or if things are going forward, it's exasperated. So it is what it is, and it's something that we didn't have in the 2008 market correction, but it's what we have right now. So I just wanted to share that. And so on to you, Theresa, because you do some fabulous work with all generations. And right now, you're going to bring us some tips for the younger generation. I think it's really important to start off with really good information when you're young, because I did, and that really, really made a difference in my life. So, and I'm just struggling here with my software. There we go. So it made a difference for me because I started with really good a really good foundation. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and then you can tell us how it works for you. So how do you help teenagers learn how to manage money?
Well, that's pretty easy because I have two living in my house, and there's some, it's a double-edged sort of goal. One is to set them up for success so their hard-earned money, they have control of it, as you always say, versus it controlling them. But also, if they're financially independent going forward, then there's less stress for me and less need for me to be giving them money, making them fully independent. So let's start with the teenage sort of demographic at this time. My kids are both 18 and 19, so that's a perfect time. So when they first, and I call this kind of grassroots, when they first got their jobs, particularly my son, who's a year older, so everything's a year sooner for him, we sat down and figured out how many hours a week he was going to be working. He was making minimum wage at a grocery store, and that doesn't matter because, as you said, Whitney, the other day, doesn't matter how much you make, it's what you're doing with it. So that became very clear. We sat down and said he would be bringing in about $120 a week. Half of that is pretty easy to save when you don't have any bills and you're living at home. So immediately every Thursday, he'd get paid on a weekly basis. 50% of his pay, which was approximately $60 every week, immediately transferred over to savings. And after 18 months of him doing that and committing to it, there was, I mean, he did it with ease. It just, in his words, it just makes sense and it's simple. So 18 months later, he bought his first car cash. And
amazing.
Absolutely. And very simple. And as he says, well, it just makes sense. Why wouldn't I do that? And so just a funny little add-on to that, my daughter being 13 months younger, got her job about a year and a half later. And I said to her on a Thursday night, come on, let's get going to bed. It's 11:45. She goes, well, no, we can't go to bed yet. I'm waiting for my pay to come in. I go, what do you mean? Well, I get paid on Friday, she said. So, and that was her first pay from Farm Boy. So she looked, and sure enough, who knew, but 12:03, she got her pay. First thing she did was grab a piece of paper, write down the amount, divided it by 2. So my next question was, oh, are you trying to figure out how much you make per shift? She said, no, how much I need to save. And that's a minimum for her is 50% of pay. So it sticks. It does not take long. If you, that initial took 15 minutes max to convince them, or say, this is what you can do so that you're working and saving and spending with intention. So that's how that works with the teenagers.
I love that. So I'm 56 this year, and I started working when I was 15 at a job. It was McDonald's. So this is before I did babysitting. But anyhow, I just want to let everybody know that I saved a minimum also of 50%. I bought my first house when I was 20. I've always owned a house. I've made a fortune in real estate. I'm not a real estate broker. I'm a real estate investor. That's one thing. And also a stock market investor, and I still follow that discipline today. So people want to know, how do you get rich? Well, this is how you do it. You just start saving your pennies, and you develop a good habit. If you haven't done it and you're my age, get going, because either you're going to die or you're going to live for the rest of your life trying to figure out where you're going to get the next buck from. So, all righty. Second question. Are there different steps you implement for post-secondary demographic?
Yes, absolutely. And they build on the first steps of the teenager, which is pay yourself first. So coming out of post-secondary, no different than you're talking, Whitney. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And planning is simple. It does not take long. And once those habits are in place, you're good. So being that my son Luke was totally bought in from the age of 15 to his planning, that he was totally on board. So he finished in April this year, his college, and he got a full-time job right away. So the weekend before he started his full-time job, we sat down on a Saturday, took us 1 hour, and we went through 5 different steps to set him up. And the first one was figuring out what he was making hourly and what that looked like on a monthly basis. We then put it into Sovereign Wealth Management's cash flow planning tool. Sat here with him on the screen. He could see everything going on. And then next we entered his expenses. And being that he has very few, it was gas, insurance on his truck, and phone. He had a lot of cash flow still come in to make it to the bottom line. So next we discussed what was his short-term and long-term goals. And he decided that the vehicle that he paid cash for 3 years ago was probably getting near to its last legs, and he didn't want to throw good money after bad. So once we got through the plan and he saw how much extra money he had, he decided his short-term goal was to buy himself a brand new 2020 truck. And his long-term goal was to own his own home. So that we documented it, we kept it very simple, and it's a live document. He can continue to add to it. The next step was we entered in his pay yourself first, which was his $60 a week. That is savings. That is his emergency money. We opened him up a TFSA for short-term goals. Could be vacations, could be, he wants to buy a Sea-Doo, whatever the case may be, his money, short-term savings. Long-term savings was for his house. So we opened up an RSP. This is all within the 1 hour. And then from there, he plugged that money in and then realized he had that extra money and made the decision he can start truck shopping, because he had the money coming in and could easily pay for it. And great time now because it's 0 interest. So those were his 3 savings buckets: his savings account, his TFSA, and his RSP. So from there, he is working full time and he's earning money, has a purpose of going to work, saving with intention and spending with intention. So again, 1 hour, he has a very nice foundation built on top of his teenage foundation, grassroots, to carry forward.
Yeah, so now he doesn't get lost in why can't I just buy this or that. So it sounds to me like you did a cash flow analysis with him, which was take what he earns, subtract what his expenses are every month that he has to pay for no matter what.
Right.
And then whatever is left over is now his cash flow analysis that allows him to know where he's going to invest in those buckets. And as long as he's filling those buckets, he can, make that car payment. So it sounds to me like your son and your daughter, they're not going to have financial issues in their life because they've been taught at a very young age. And these are two people that are not earning massive amounts of money,
No.
but what they're doing is they're being smart and they're being
aware.
I just lost the word, but they're being deliberate. They're deliberate right. in what they're doing.
100.
And I like that. I like what they're doing. So this is really important. Even parents with your children, get them to watch this video. Theresa is here to help. And the third question that we have for you is, why do you feel these approaches are critical to their financial future?
Well, Whitney, you just touched on one, being deliberate and being proactive. Controlling your money so it doesn't control you. And being proactive just keeps it simple. It just makes sense. So everything I've done before they actually got their first paycheck. So they already had a plan in place. So that's number one. Number two, it allows them to, again, earn money and have a purpose for going to work every day. They know that they have some bills to cover, they have some short-term and long-term goals. Third, which is really important to our generation of parents, is that our kids have financial independence. The housing market is out of control, as we all know, and we worry and wonder, how will our kids ever get their first home? I'm not worried. I am absolutely not worried. I know that they will do it, and they will do it with ease. And the last is, there's nothing better than passing on our life learnings to our kids, to future generations, to make their life easier. So looking at each step of the process, talk to someone about it, talk to friends, talk to advisors. The steps are quite simple. Being proactive is absolutely the way.
Amazing. So, it's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. It is, so don't feel overwhelmed, because it's every single person can do this. You really just need a coach. And what's nice about it is that Theresa does not charge for her service. So neither do I, but this is about Theresa today. And so this is a fantastic person to talk to. And it's a great time to talk to her because, we're out and about, but we're doing a lot more stuff over the phone and online. So I invite everybody to send a message right below, send a private message to Theresa. And we'll put her cell phone number in below too. So for anybody that wants to text, but it's a great time for young people to look at how they want to set their foundation, because it is possible. And I bet you right now there's a lot of bleakness because we don't know, how am I going to get a job? There are jobs, and there's a lot of things that are going to be done, like this. We're going to do it over computers, but the world is not going to stop spinning. We're going to keep going forward. So thank you very much. And we will have another Wisdom to Wealth tomorrow, Friday. It's going to run a little bit later, 1 or 1:15, just because I've got clients booked all morning, and we'll let you know what that is before it happens. Thank you, Theresa, for sharing your wisdom. And your drive to help people is unbelievable. And just to let people know, like others know, Theresa's had a banner month in May. She just doesn't stop working and caring. So talk to you again.
Thanks, Whitney. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. So I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.